Hello, and welcome to what may well be our final edition of Around the Mitten. A little less melodramatic. Sorry about that, Pastor James. Um, Welcome, and I am Pastor Chris Laughlin, and we have, as of today, we have exceeded our mandate. Our original request was to do the Sundays in Lent. We asked to do Ash Wednesday, Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and then a bonus reflection, and those requests were approved, but we didn't get this one cleared. So, Pastor James will introduce our guest star. Pastor James, please tell us who is our guest star for today.
Well, our guest star is Pastor James, me, but more on that in a second. First, I want to say for viewers at home, this may remind you of a particular scene in the great movie of 2001, Master and Commander. We are at the moment right now where Captain Happy Jack exceeds his mandate, exceeds his remit in chasing this French ship around the Horn. So we have gone even like more around the Mitten than we were allowed. I don't know if that puts us in Wisconsin or Ontario or God forbid Ohio. But here we are, and it is good to be with a friend at the end of all things. Um, and so I am Pastor James. I've been a part of a few of these now and then. I checked in on it, and I serve at Sarah Lutheran Church in St. Joseph. I was installed 1 year ago today when we're recording this, or I don't know, like 11 days ago as of Easter Vigil, which is what we are covering in a minute. Saren is right on Lake Michigan. It's really cool to see the lake when I drive in, and I have absolutely loved being here. Great music. We've got some great Bible studies. We just finished our 24th out of 25 sessions on Acts. We got through the shipwreck today, which is a really fun part of Acts. If you haven't read it, it's Acts 27 through early 28. Um, so I'm just so grateful for the warm welcome here, and looking forward to many more years with the good people of Saron in St. Joseph.
That's truly wonderful. If we can go back for just a moment, I do highly recommend the movie Master and Commander. I do not highly recommend the book. The movie is, and you won't hear me say this very often, the movie is better.
It's so good.
It's very good.
It's
It's
so
very
good.
good.
It's probably the best thing Russell Crowe has done in his life.
I won't argue with that.
Yep. Yep. All right. So you Gladiator fans, hit us up in the comments and the DMs. We'll be glad to respond. Anyway,
But Pastor James, you had a specific reflection that you wanted to, forgive me, reflect upon.
yes. So we are doing at Sarin an Easter Vigil. Some of your churches may have this. It's kind of been the trendy thing for a while to have a Saturday night service. And the cool thing about the Easter Vigil, cool or terrible, depending on your perspective, is it is a long service. So there are anywhere between 4 to 12 Old Testament readings that you really play with light and dark. So you start out in dark and you build a bonfire with a Paschal candle, and then you go into the church. So it takes a lot of planning to do an Easter Vigil, frankly. And so I thought I would consult my trusty Evangelical Lutheran Worship Desk Edition, which is why it has the silver color and the inverted color scheme from normal. Um, and it backs me up on this. It has a note. It says the vigil service requires careful planning and preparation. Check, we're there. All right. So the next part I noticed though is under the gospel section, it has a note. The sermon on this day may be a brief devotional commentary. And I'm going to let you in on a secret of the trade. I suspect what they are doing there is many pastors have so many sermons to preach that week that they read a particular sermon, which is by John Chrysostom, and it is written for the Holy Saturday Easter celebration. It is an amazing homily. It's, I don't know, 300 words or so. You can easily find it online. If you haven't read it, look it up. I think they're trying to open up for that, but I am planting my flag on the devotional part. And what I'm going to give you today is kind of a devotional take on a sermon. So this is going to be less into the Greek or into the specific exegesis and more into how this all washes over me and hopefully speaks to a larger group. Hopefully it speaks to some of you, our dear long-suffering viewers. So speaking of long suffering, the passage I have selected to share a reflection on is Genesis 22. And if you know your Bible numbers, alarm bells should be going off because Genesis 22 is one of the most uh, serious, troubling, controversial passages in the entire Bible. It is when Abraham is asked by God to sacrifice his son, his only son, the son whom you love, is how God puts it. And God keeps stretching each of those out to say what a big ask this is. Um, and so the story goes through with this sacrifice, and he takes his son Isaac with him, and they start going up in the mountain. And there's this really disturbing scene where Isaac is like, "Hey, Dad, I see the wood. I got the kerosene, I got the lighter fluid, but where is the animal for the sacrifice?" And Abraham has an interesting answer. He says, "God will provide the lamb." And one of the things I love is that the word "provide" in Hebrew is it's see to it's like God will see to it. Hebrew a lot of times is a very physical language, and it relies a lot on turning that into metaphor. God will see to it. Um, so I want to keep that in mind, um, because I want to start us off here with the way the whole story starts, and then we'll see how it ends and see if Abraham's right. So the first line is Genesis 22:1. After these things, God tested Abraham. That line, after these things, just really hits me. And if you have been following Abraham, you know that after these things is carrying a lot of weight. So Abraham's story begins in chapter 12 of Genesis. So for 10 chapters now, uh, Abraham and Sarah have relied on God, going from place to place, escaping uh, militaristic kings and pharaohs, and fighting for their lives. And the entire time, as late as age 99, they do not have an heir. And so after these things, is he's been through all of this. He finally has a son. The son we think is what, probably a teen or so. What do you think, Pastor Chris? Possibly older.
Yeah, he's probably somewhere between 10 and 15 at this point.
Yeah. So
Um,
go ahead.
but yeah, and there has also been like after these things also carries the weight of um another story. Well, obviously you mentioned lots of stories. I mean, God has made the promise three times, but also I, isn't it that he's just thrown out? And I don't have my Bible and I haven't looked this up, so correct me if I'm wrong. He's just expelled Hagar and Ishmael, as I recall.
Yes. Yes. And that's chapter 16 and 17, I think. But that's a key part of the story too, is Sarah has Sarah has actually agreed to this and then kind of got buyer's remorse. She says, go ahead and have an heir with Hagar, who's basically a slave girl. I know it doesn't sound great, but that's what the situation is. And she conceives Ishmael, and actually at Sarah's behest, who sees Ishmael playing with Hagar, and understandably, I think, given her own pain, gets really jealous. She tells Abraham they got to go. And so Abraham has already kicked out the closest thing he had to an heir before he has Isaac.
Right.
Um, and now it looks like he's going to have to give up Isaac as well. That also is a pickup, though, because Hagar is the first person in the Bible to name God. And she says that you are the God who sees. El Roy, I think is how it's pronounced in Hebrew. That's the same word, the same root that Abraham's going to use when Isaac asks him that question. God will provide. So after all these things, Abraham still has confidence that God will provide. Soren Kierkegaard reflects on this passage and he says, "All hail to you, Father Abraham, who in 130 years never went beyond faith." Um, which, would that be could be said of all of us? We would never go beyond
Seriously.
faith because I think you and I both would. Oh gosh, like it'd be awful. But the story ends with he's right. Right as he is about to strike the fatal blow, they see a ram caught in the thicket, and behold, God has seen to providing the animal for the sacrifice. So, what's the angle with this on Easter? Well, um, it's that phrase after these things. And I want to take you not to Easter itself, but to Good Friday. And if you were in church, you probably had the massive two-chapter reading of John 18 through 19. And right near the end at 1938, we get this line, after these things, Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, who are secret disciples, it says, because of the fear of the Jews or the Judean leaders. Um, they go to Pilate, they ask for the body, um, and then they give him a proper burial. And what I want to say is, after these things again, is that is reflecting Jesus's entire ministry, all the times that he and they have possibly come under criticism, under threat. These things of the betrayal, of the arrest, of the death on the cross. And but in them, I see kind of the situation Abraham's in, which is there's this very dismal situation. They don't know how it's going to end, and yet they still have the boldness to go get the body to anoint him with like 250 pounds of spices, I think is the number. So just this extraordinary, exorbitant amount. Um, and it tells me that in some part of them, they are hoping that even after these things, God will see to it. And that's what happens on Easter when hoping against hope, God raises God's son Jesus, and all that faith, struggling as it might be, contested as it might be, in sorrow as it might be, that faith is rewarded and it wins out in the end. Um, so why is that my message for this year? Well, I think for many of us, the last year, especially these first few months, have been um, pretty rough. It's not an easy time to be in the world. Thinking back to January, we had Minneapolis, we've had our current war with Iran, in our own lives, in our own congregations. You know better than I have the real struggle it takes to be a believer on a day-to-day basis, um, to be like Abraham, to trust even when you don't see what's happening. So for me, I find a lot of inspiration and I take heart that even after these things, after whatever it is we have been through, um, we can trust that God will be good to God's promises, that God will see to it. And when God does see to it, it means resurrection, it means life, it means hope. Um, and that's what Easter is really all about. It's not just pure joy. It's the kind of joy when um, Tolkien said, "Could everything sad about the world be made untrue?" And that's the kind of the promise of Easter to me is that there is something we can hold on to, even in the toughest times, even after these things.
Incredible message of hope for Easter, Pastor James. Thank you so much. Um, we have come to that portion of our show, as you well know, because you invented it, where we ask, in this tough time, what is it that is bringing you joy? And I think your original intention was something like a book or a movie or a play or a song,
Mhm.
and everyone's given different answers. So, Pastor James, what is it for you?
All right, so I have a fun one and then a more heartfelt one. The fun one, which is also good, is the movie that has been on Netflix since about November, I think. It is called Wake Up Dead Man. Wake Up Dead Man, and it is uh, it is a movie that has, I think, the best portrayal of what it actually means to be a pastor, um, and the the so the I don't want to give away too much, but the title is a connection. If you think back to the fifth Sunday in Lent, so 2 weeks before Easter, we had the story of the raising of Lazarus. And what are Jesus's last words to Lazarus? Unbind him and let him go. I love reading that every Sunday. It comes up, Chris. I don't know about you. Unbind him and let him go. Um, so the movie turns on the way that confession and forgiveness unbind and let go. And it is probably the most powerful portrayal I have seen of confession and forgiveness. So, practically see the movie. If your church is offering individual laying on of hands and forgiveness on Monday, Thursday, that can be powerful. Maybe your church is even doing individual confession and forgiveness during Holy Week. I would really encourage you to take advantage of that because the point of confession and forgiveness is not guilt. It actually is unbinding. It is letting go. And it's in God's grace that we can do that. So this movie, it is also an amazing story and also very funny at times.
At times, yes, it is.
A bit edgy. There are parts that if you have kids around, you might want to pick up later. But really good. The other thing that is bringing me the most joy is my son Titus. The last couple months has just started to read. Pastor Chris, I think you were actually at the house the first time he read at all.
I think I was.
And you know, lately he's just taken off. He read to me Green Eggs and Ham, which we think of as a kid's book, and it is, but it's also like 50 pages. He just whipped right through it. So I first of all, it's amazing time with him that I really can't trade. But second, I think about what reading has done for me. Practically all the doors it's opened for me, but also just the joy. So I think of in my own life, the last 2 days, I finished The Burgundians, which is a thick book. It took me 5 or 6 weeks to get through, but just takes me back to this amazing time, 700 years ago in France or in the Low Countries, just a totally different place, a totally different people I would have known nothing about if not for books. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I just finished Agatha Christie's Then There Were None. And I read that in 2 days because it's a mystery, it's a thriller, it's a page turner. And suddenly I'm on this remote island trying to survive, and what a joy that is to just be able to sit down and be transported to something different and to see the world through other people's eyes. There's so much focus on March's reading month on the practicality of it, but I wish we'd also focus on the joy because it is such a joy. And for me to pass that on to Titus, that is pretty darn special.
Thank you for bringing a little joy into all of our lives, Pastor James. And thank you for being my good friend and colleague on this journey around the Mitten. And
Likewise, and I want to thank our 2 to 3 viewers or however many we have. I haven't looked at the numbers, but to all of you who have watched this, all of the pastors who have joined us, to our bishop, Julie Schneider Thomas, for uh, nominating this idea.
collecting us, yes.
Yes, continuing to publish. Um, Thank you guys,
And a shout out to Pastor Alex Aviers and Shannon, and I'm not sure Shannon's last name, so my apologies. They have been,
Borsma.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. They've been rock stars. We record and edit and then upload the files to them, and then they actually put it on the Synod YouTube page.
So we really do not know when we will be back.
Even if, and that's okay.
But someday the mitten will turn after these things. And in some way, you will see us again. And for that, we say thank you. And we say hasta la vista.